Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm creating this kind of abstract confetti kind of look. It's a little bit see-through, it's very chromy, it's gorgeous. Anyway, we're starting with black Sapote, and this is one of our jelly polishes with a black tone to it because I want this background to be a little bit see-through. So I'm just going in with a coat of this and then I'm going to pop it in the lamp to cure. Once that's cured, I'm just going in with a second coat just because I want it to be a little bit more opaque, but not fully opaque. I'm going to cure that, and then we're taking our gel top coat nail sealer, and if you've seen me use this before, I love using it for when I need to buff a nail down for isolated chrome because it just gives me a little bit more of a thicker layer to buff down and it won't affect anything underneath. Once that's cured, I'm taking the white sanding block and just buffing the whole nail. Just make sure that there's no shiny bits left on there because we don't want any of our chrome to stick to anything other than the gel polish where we put it. Once that's all buffed, I'm taking one of our dusting brushes and just getting rid of any excess dust on there because I don't want it to be stuck in any of our gel polish. So I'm taking top coat and I'm just going to use one of our fine detail brushes, and I'm just doing some circly kind of shapes. Some of them are going to be a little bit more square. They don't have to be perfect at all. That's kind of the whole point of this look, that it looks a little bit undone. It doesn't look perfect. So I'm just going to do a few random ones across the nail. I want to make sure that these all have a gap in between them. We're going to do different coloured chromes on each one, and then we are going to layer it up as we go, so you'll be able to see through the chrome a little bit and see the colours underneath too. But I'll explain that a little bit more in a minute once we get onto the chromes. I'm popping that in the lamp for 30 seconds, and then these are the chromes that we're using. So these are our chrome pigments that are like iridescent, so they're not totally opaque. So with me using our clear top coat, I should be able to put these on top, and when I do another layer, you'll be able to kind of see through them a little bit. You can see here the colours that they reflect when they're on black. So in the pot they just look white, and then you can see that colour shining through on the lid there. So some are a bit more red, some are a bit more blue, some are green. They're really beautiful, these. So now that's cured, I'm literally just taking those chrome pigments and dotting different colours on different bits. So I'm not too worried about this, I'm just making sure that the chrome pigments don't get on each other's sections, if that makes sense. I'm just going to try and stick to one colour per circly, squarey, squiggly shape. Once I've got that all buffed on there, I'm just taking a little piece of sponge and just wiping off the excess. You can see it's not stuck to the background because we buffed it down, and it'll just get any of those extra particles off. So I'm going back in with our top coat and I'm doing some more of those shapes, but I'm going to overlap them over the shapes we've already done. And like I say, because it's a clear gel polish, when we put the next iridescent colour on, because they're not opaque as well, you'll be able to see a little bit of the colour underneath shining through, which I think is really pretty, and it makes it look a little bit different as well. So I've cured that for 30 seconds and I'm just doing the same process again, just adding some chrome onto each individual section. And if you're worried about it sticking to the bits you've already done, luckily chrome doesn't stick to chrome, so you don't have to worry about that. So again, I'm just alternating those colours on the different circly, squarey, squiggly shapes and just making sure that they're well buffed in. So again, I'm just going to wipe all of that off with a sponge and just make sure there's no excess particles on there. And I'm just doing a third layer of these clear top coat circly shapes, and we're going to go and do exactly the same thing again. So if you look closer, you can see how they look where they overlap. I think it's really pretty. I'm not too bothered about seeing some of that black through the background. That's absolutely fine. It's part of the whole look, to be honest, that you can see through the background and it's black as well. So once that's cured for 30 seconds, I'm doing exactly the same thing again and just adding the colours onto these. The only thing I'm doing is making sure that I'm not using the same colour on top of something that's got the same chrome on it, because I want them to stand out a bit. And I'm just going to wipe that down with a sponge again, and then we're going to be going in with some top coat to seal all of that in. Because chrome can be a little bit delicate, I am going to put a layer of this on before I go in with matte coat, because I want this nail to be matte, and it actually looks really pretty having this chrome matte. Once that's cured, I'm taking our ultra matte coat and doing a layer of this. And one thing you do need to be careful with using matte coat over chrome is if I didn't put that top coat on already, it can move and remove the chrome a little bit, so you do have to be careful with that. And there you go, you can see how gorgeous it is when it's matte. I think it's lovely as it is, but I am going to add some extra elements to it. I love those bits that overlap. So I'm taking Venom and I'm just going to be mixing this with a bit of our Clear as Day Builder gel, and I just want a coloured 3D gel that I can use to make some circly outlines across the nail. So I'm just mixing kind of 1-to-1 of these. I still want it to be 3D, but I want it to have plenty of colour too. So I'm just kind of doing a semicircle across the nail here, and I will go in and do a few layers of this to build it up. This is just kind of my first layer to map out where it's going to be. I'm also not too worried about these being perfect circles or perfectly even, because I think it just adds to the look if they're a little bit uneven. I'm just going to do a full circle at the top here as well. I'm going to pop that in the lamp to cure, and then we're just going in with a second coat. And this is just to build up the 3D effect. I'm not too bothered about anything else apart from making it a little bit taller. Once that's cured, I'm doing the same thing but with Teal Appeal, so I'm going to mix that with some of our Clear as Day Builder gel, and I'm just going to be doing some more similar shapes near the ones that we've already done. So I'm just doing a smaller semicircle inside this one on the right, and then I'm going to do quite a large one going across the nail on the other side that's going to go through the full circle that's in the Venom. This bit is a little bit tricky because you're working around other 3D elements, so I just took my time with this to make sure that it didn't get everywhere. And obviously if it gets on something else, literally just take some gel residue remover and a brush and you can just wipe it off. Once that's cured, I'm doing the same thing as I did with the Venom mixture and just doing a second coat on top just to add some height. Once that's cured, I'm taking our ultra matte coat just to finish this off, and you could go over the whole nail, but I decided to just go over the elements I'd just done. Everything else was already sealed in, and I didn't want to remove any of that 3D effect by adding a load of top coat around them and it pooling or anything like that. But like I say, you can totally try it and just go over the whole nail with the matte coat. And once that's cured, we have the final nail. I'd love to know what you guys think down below. If you want any of the products, they'll be tagged down there too, and we'll see you next time. Bye guys.